To get us started, it is my pleasure to introduce Gian Mario Besana, the Associate Provost of Global Engagement and Online Learning.
Welcome, everyone. And whether you're just getting started with your day or you're ending a long day of work, wherever you are in the world, thank you for being here with us and for making time to join us today. When you choose to study at DePaul, you make a choice that impacts not just a few years you spend with us studying, but you're making a choice that impacts your future, your career, your success, and the way we hope that you can make a difference in the world. This past few months, more than ever, have reminded us of the importance of staying connected with people with whom you share values and you share experiences. The relationships you create around you really constitute the core of who you are and shape the way you go through your life. And at DePaul, we consistently try to offer myriad opportunities to create new relationships in the classroom and outside of the classroom, as you very well know. This event is another opportunity to connect people and create relationships. Even if right now Chicago may seem very far, if you're back in your countries, or maybe the Loop campus may seem very far if you're working from home and you've been working from home for months, we wanted to bring us together and remind us all that DePaul is open and thriving and continuing to make a positive difference in the world, and most importantly, in the life of many young women and men like you who joined us to study and then go off and went off and did fantastic things with their career. And on that note, it is such a pleasure today to showcase our 5 fantastic alumni that you will get to meet soon: Feng, Ankush, Anusha, Christine, and Ellen, who have thrived in their different careers. And we're so very much looking forward to hearing from them and then to hear from you with questions and comments and sharing your current experience wherever you are in the world and wherever you are in your career progress right now. So thank you again for joining us. We're looking forward to this event and to hearing from you later. We hope you enjoyed the event and we will see you again at the end. Wait, taking out.
Thank you, GM. Let's start our panel with the first panelist, Feng Li, please.
Hello, everyone. And thanks a lot, Professor Lin. It's really an honor to be here as one of the 5 panelists. So a brief introduction about myself. My name is Feng Li, and I'm a second-year senior with PwC, the Greater Chicago Financial Services Tax Group. I joined DePaul in the fall of 2013. Before I joined DePaul MSA program, as many of you who knows me, I know nothing about debit and credit, and I have zero accounting knowledge and zero accounting background. Therefore, when I look back, at that time, I feel like there is no chance for me to get a job or even like a full-time, like an internship opportunity in United States. However, during my first quarter, DePaul offers a lot of events and activities, for example, like Meet the Firm and Job Fair, and opportunities for us to connect with professors, DePaul alumni, business professionals. And there are also like career centers as well as alumni programs that help us get ready for the job market. There are also a lot of on-campus job opportunities that we can apply. So I feel really lucky that in my second year with DePaul, I became the graduate assistant, and I was able to work with a few amazing professors in our MSA program. Because of that experience and some of my experience in student organization, volunteer events, I got an internship opportunity in PwC in the summer of 2015. It is not a really long internship, it's only like 2 months, but I had a really amazing experience over there. So by the end of the internship, I decided to accept the full-time offer and then stay with the firm. The year after, I graduated from DePaul in spring, and I spent like about 2 to 3 months on my CPA exams. And then I joined the firm in the summer of 2016. I worked there for about like 2 years as experienced associate, and then I got promoted. I also got married in the same year. So I decided to move in with my husband, who lives in Milwaukee at that time. With the help of the team, I was able to transfer to Milwaukee office, but still work with majority of my Chicago clients and all my Chicago team members. So I have been working remotely with my team for like about 2 years. If you ask me one piece of advice that I would like to share with the recent alumni and international students, I will say that, and this is something that I'm still working on as well, I will say that trying to build up your personal network as early as possible. If you are a student and you are still in the job market, building up your personal network can help you get connected with the business professionals who works in the industry and the job position that you are interested in. And if you are in the early stage of your career path, getting connected can also help you with your career progression. So that's basically everything about me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Fang Fang. Next, we have Ankush.
Hey everyone, good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world you guys are in. My name is Ankus Chatterjee. I graduated from the CalSTART Graduate School of Business, part of DePaul, in 2008. I was actually working for Motorola at that time, and used to come in for classes. So one of the things that I did at the very outset, right, and was right, rather than move between different roles when I was taking this particular program, my overall approach was always to get exposed to different areas of the business. So rather than trying to move between organizations, I would identify certain specific senior leaders, inside the organization, preferably if they were part of the CalSTART alumni, even better, and initiate discussions, kind of get them up to socialize the fact that I'm going through this particular program. These are certain skill sets that I'm kind of picking up, and then try to work with them towards a plan that's also tied to certain timelines, right, based on completion and so on and so forth. So that was kind of my strategy that worked while I was going through the program. Since then, once I had graduated, one of my first roles, I went on to head product management. I was based out of Chicago initially, good 12 years of my life. And I was heading product management, managing an $80 million to $100 million P&L for overall wireless portfolio for Motorola. While I was also working in these roles, I also tried to go back to school. So I went off to Harvard Business School, studied there for a year. And then once I was also finished with that particular program, I decided to move back to India with a role with a company called Aricent Group. And they were basically into managed services and building engineering services for the world. And I headed marketing for 2 of their business units based out of India. Subsequently, some folks from Samsung reached out, and it was a great opportunity. And I went on to, start off their new product innovation team for Southeast and Southwest Asia, based out of India. And we did a lot of interesting, exciting stuff, working on the entire Galaxy portfolio and some of the very cool gadgets, more from a tech perspective. At around that time, I was pretty much tired of working for bigger organizations, so I decided to take the plunge, and I went and worked for startups for the next 4 or 5 years. And not just in the tech field, I also spent some years working in a health tech organization, trying to scale up their business from a couple of $1 million to tens of millions of dollars. And in my current role, so I currently work for an organization called Here Technologies. They have a sizable presence even in the Chicago area. It used to be part of Nokia. And I started off heading their product portfolio for South Asia. A couple of weeks back, I actually moved up and expanded my role to manage the same for the entire Asia Pac. So that's what I've been doing for a while. almost 22, 23 years of my life, essentially working around tech, connected devices, IoT type of solutions, but also moving from product management to product marketing to general management, right? And roles that are at the confluence of these three disciplines, right? That has been my area of interest. Things that has worked for me in terms of piece of advice, right? I mean, this is a conversation I have with folks who are studying, who are in their early years as well. It's always good to take risks in your formative years. Find newer roles. Do not necessarily try to look for the next role, which is just a build up on your current role. It's okay to falter, and trust me, you will learn a lot more taking those risks than not. And one of the other things that has also helped me, it might sound a little counterintuitive, try identifying your next job the day you try to get into, or the day you get into the current one, and work towards that. Have a plan, whether it's for 2 years or 3 years, and the tools will automatically fall in place, whether it's networking, whether it's your learnings, certain skill sets you need to develop, but set that objective, and then you can kind of work towards that. Hope this was helpful, and I love talking to you. So I'll hand it off to, I think, Christine, who's next. Thanks for the opportunity for allowing me to share the stage with the others here.
Thank you, Ankush. Actually, next we have Anusha.
My apologies.
Thank you. Good morning, good evening, everyone. And thank you to DePaul for this wonderful opportunity. Excited to be here with all of you and share a little bit of my experience so far. So my name is Anusha Ramachandran. And interestingly, this January, I complete 10 years in America as a first-gen immigrant. I've spent the last 8 years of my professional career here working for a $10 billion trucking transportation company named Navistar, which is headquartered out of Chicago, which is where I'm based out of. And I started out my journey with DePaul back in 2012 when I was pursuing the Masters in Marketing Analytics program. And a year into the program, I happened to get a full-time opportunity, and I did a little bit of parallel pathing of studying and working. And these 8 years that I've spent here in this firm, I started out as a marketing analyst for our school bus business division, and then eventually grew into roles in the CRM digital space. And today, I oversee our market research and customer data operations as the director for customer intelligence and insights. When I think back at my strategy for kind of transitioning from, from the student life to the professional career, I love to use the analogy of a navigation system. Like if you think about Google Maps, you really can't use Google Maps and put in a destination if you don't know the way you're going. Was really about spending a little bit more time understanding my own strengths, my own weaknesses, and my own passion areas. I know this sounds really simple and intuitive, but it's been amazing for me to observe how little time we often spend in doing that self-exploration of truly understanding where our interests and skill sets lie. Because I can tell you, when you have to wake up from bed every day and make sure it doesn't feel like you've got Monday blues and you really love what you're doing and are ready to embrace work challenges, I think that's really essential to do early on, especially when you're a student and early on in your career. And for me, the how to get there is really the networking piece. I know we all hear about it, but I can tell you personally, the amount of tools and resources that DePaul provided me back then, whether it was the Ask Network or all the workshops that the Career Center would have, or quite frankly, the wealth of academic and professional experience that our professors have. I remember this one time when I sat down with Professor Zafar, and I was at a point of really trying to understand. I had a promotion opportunity at work and trying to understand which path to take. And his perspective on seeing me as a student in his classroom and helping me understand, where I would truly succeed and what I would enjoy doing, it's been phenomenally spot on. And I see that as I see my career play out to date. So I would say, really, understanding which industries, which brands you're interested in, which roles are you interested in, and be willing to take the time to make the connections related to those areas is really critical. 10 years back when I came here, I probably had 0 professional contacts on my phone list. I was just another first-gen immigrant. I didn't really have a strong network here. And I can tell you that a lot of the experiences I had as a student back in DePaul and all of the resources they provided me was very helpful. I still continue to use them in my day-to-day work life, when I'm thinking about making connections and kind of broadening my own network here. The one piece of advice that I would give, just based on the 10 years of experience I have, some of it back in my home country, India, and most of it being here in America, I would say that I truly believe that, it's your career. You're on the driver's seat and you're in charge. And what I really mean by that is I've been very grateful for all the wonderful mentors and managers and colleagues I've had so far. But I think, for me to be successful where I am today, it's taken a lot of just being, sort of this persistent pain to the universe for wanting to pursue my dreams and aspirations. And I think it's extremely important to be willing to consistently invest in yourself and kind of early on, really understand what is it that you really want to do. I think Ankush put it really well when he said, be willing to place the bets. Because I can tell you that, your risk-taking appetite would vary based on your life stage and as your career grows. So being willing to place those bets early on, being willing to try things outside your comfort zone. I've been in this firm for now 8 years. And I have tried roles outside of my comfort zone just from a growth standpoint, because there's no other way to really grow and really learn the business until you're willing to invest yourself in different areas. So, I would say being willing to do that early on in your career is extremely important. So, thank you. Back to you, He.
Thank you, Anusha. Christine, please.
Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. So I'm actually a conference producer. I know that's something that nobody really will think of when they first set foot into university. But how I landed this role is that I know that I love the English language. I love meeting people. I like traveling, and I have good organizational skills. But what led me to this role is just trying out many other roles before this. So like, what Anusha and Ankush said earlier, get out of your comfort zone and try something else. But since the days in DePaul, what I did was I liked the internship opportunity that it gave me. I was working as an intern in a PR communications company, and that taught me a lot. And right after graduation, I came back to my home country in Malaysia, and I actually joined an advertising firm, and I started doing account servicing, and that is what is closest to what I did as an intern. And then slowly, from there, I tried other things. I was doing sales. After that I was in communications department for a listed company in Malaysia. Then I moved on to many other roles. But then one day I just stopped and thought about what I really want to do, and I didn't know. And my ex-boss came up to me and said, I was approached by a HR firm. Recruitment firm, and do you want to try the role of a conference producer? So that was in 2006. And ever since then, I've been a conference producer for the last 14 years. And I would say that, first you need to know what you love doing and passionate about it. And then try out roles and don't be stuck in one area and be unhappy about it. Don't be afraid to try, but always take the lesson with you to the next stage of your life. I think that's all I have to say. Huilin, over to you.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have Ellen from Shanghai.
Hello, hi. This is Ellen. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So it's a great honor to be here. This is Ellen. I graduated from DePaul back in 2000 with a master's degree in computer science. So actually, this year is my 20th anniversary of my graduation. It's been an honor to be here. So looking back, I think my internship during my program years actually helped a lot transitioning into my full-time career. I got the opportunity actually from my that time database part-time teacher, Mr. Tom Sheridan. I was actually a little bit surprised when he offered me the internship. I asked him why, and he told me that you asked a lot of questions. So I think one advice I would encourage our particularly the international students to don't shy away from speaking out your thoughts and opinions, because it will benefit you and also benefit the community. My first job after graduation was actually with Motorola. And I was really excited to join that company. But I don't know how many people know about the 2000 tech bubble crash. Motorola actually got a big hit. And because of that, it shut down the division I was in. So actually, I only had a 9 month of tenure with Motorola. But fortunately, with the up-to-date tech skills, I turned around, got another job within 2 weeks with the 10K more with the base. I worked there for about a year and a half, and then moved to New York City, working for Citibank. Worked there for about 3 years as a software engineer, and then moved down to Atlanta due to family reasons, and joined Career Builder in 2005 as a senior software engineer. And then when I get to the Career Builder, there was a company program called the Ideas from Everywhere. Whoever wins the idea will receive $1 million of a studying fund to start up your own company. So at that time, I had a great passion about the China market. I see great opportunity. So I made a business proposal. I didn't win that campaign. However, I got identified to be someone who knows the China market. So by the time 2008, when companies really start up a business in China, they sent me over to start up the IT company. And so I serve this company entity as the general manager and the technology director for APAC for almost 12 years. Until early this year, I decided to take the challenge from Google and join the Google as the software engineering manager. So today I'm imagining talking to myself back from 20 years ago. What would I say? I would say, really don't set your limit, and really find your passion, and go wild with your dream. Because for me, I never imagined my journey. And I think if you have dreamed big, you truly can get there if you believe in that. From my experience, the level of intelligence among the human beings is about the same. But I think the difference is really about your commitment and your execution power. So I think working hard, be proactive and adaptive, I think it's critical skills to today's fast-pacing world. Another advice I think I would say, I was fortunate to get laid off at my very early career path. I think that was a wake-up call to me. When I joined Motorola, I thought that was the lifelong job. Not true. And my past 20 years of experience had told me, you really need to learn and continue to challenge yourself. I think be aware what you are contributing, and always push yourself outside of the comfort zone. I think one day if you find yourself not learning or not making the contribution to your company, I think it's really time to reevaluate your career and look for the more challenges for yourself. I guess that's all for me. Back to the host.
Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing their journeys with us. We will now open up the floor to questions from the audience. Just as a reminder, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen to submit your questions. To get us started, Anusha, loved the suggestion of exploring one's personal passions and getting clarity on them to make career decisions. Besides relationships, can you tell us more about what other tools, techniques, actions you have taken to deepen your understanding of your own passions?
That's a great question, and I think just speaking for myself, the culture I come from, from my home country, India, I can tell you, networking, or building relationships isn't something that's taught early on. And it's almost like you're building muscle memory a little bit for me. So it takes constant practice. So for me to walk into a room of strangers and really introducing myself and starting a conversation, finding a common topic to discuss, took a lot of practice. So what I would do is DePaul would have all these career workshops. They'd have different events where you can meet people from different companies, just come forward and meet alumni. Even though internally I would dread the idea of going to these events and not knowing someone, quite frankly, on purpose, I would sometimes go and sign up alone. And not necessarily go and try to find a friend or someone I know who'd come with me to the event just from a comfort standpoint. And that really started to force me a little more to get comfortable with the idea of just, going ahead and, forging new relationships and doing the networking. From the standpoint of, using tools and techniques to understand my own strengths, there are some really great free tools available out there. You got the Myers-Briggs personality type, which, believe it or not, I feel between those 16 personality types, you will spark to one that closely resonates with how you are as a person. As well as there are tools like Strength Finder. If you guys have heard of that, I think there's a Strength Finder 2.0 version, the Clifton Strength Finder that's out there, which I think is another phenomenal tool. And outside of that, what I did was I painstakingly kind of sat down and went through my resume and literally did like these 1 or 2 pages for every role I've been in, and spent a couple of days understanding in each of those roles, what was it that I really enjoyed doing, right? What were initiatives, what were tasks that I would constantly proactively seek out and want to go do more of, and what were tasks and initiatives that I was just doing because I had to check the box, or there were things that I was expected to do being in the role I was in. And you start seeing a constant theme of what you really enjoy doing. For example, I can tell you for myself, and I think this is where I was alluding to the fact that in one of the conversations, Zafar was spot on about me. I love to build products. I like to build solutions and ship them out, right? So I like to be responsible for soup to nuts, putting the different pieces of the puzzle together. But if you give me one piece of the puzzle and tell me to do a deep dive, like write a code or get into the technical minutiae of the details, that's not going to be me, because I know I tend to zone out a little bit with, really owning just one piece. So I like to kind of own the big, the big product design, the big product build, and then ship it out. And that really put me more in the program management, project management track, which is what I'm doing right now as I oversee these 2 functions at Navistar. So, those were a couple of things I did early on, which I thought were really helpful. Thank you, Wee.
Thank you, Anusha. This next question is for Fang Fang. What was your strategy for studying and passing the CPA exam? How has it helped advance your career so far?
Thanks a lot. And I do believe that this is a really great question, because it is a really challenging parts during my first year of my career path. I would say that the strategy to study and passing the CPA exam is to try to get as many parts for your CPA exam parts done as early as possible. If possible, try to do that before you start your full-time job. It's much easier to pass all the CPA exam before you start your full-time job. I passed 2 of my CPA exams before I get started with the firm, and the remaining 2, I passed it during my first year with PwC. It's kind of challenging for someone to actually focusing on your CPA exam while you are still trying to get used to the new working environment, get to know what needs to be done during your first year of your career. But one thing that I learned is always trying to communicate your need with the team and with the firm. It's like passing the CPA exam is basically what every single employee will do in public accounting firms. And without that, we probably will have a challenging time when getting promoted to seniors or getting promoted to managers. So the team is always really supportive of that. But one thing that for us we'll need to pay attention to is to really communicate this kind of needs to the rest of the team, letting them know that you need the time to blocked to be protected and studying for the CPA exams. For the working environment that we're in, we have busy seasons and there will be always like a lot of internal and external deadlines. So there will be always sometimes that something to work on if you do not speak up. Therefore, trying to communicate your needs and ask for help from the other team members, and the team will always be able to find a way to work around it and help you pass the CPA exam. How has it helped once your career so far? I feel like when I apply for internship and for jobs, the only thing that we're being asked is whether you are eligible to take the CPA exam. Passing all 4 parts of the CPA exam is definitely a plus to getting a full-time offer. But it is not really like a requirement. When you really get the full-time job opportunities, that's the time that when you are trying to start thinking about your plan of passing all 4 parts of your CPA exams. Because for some firms and some industries like PwC that I'm working with, it is kind of a requirement for promotion. Thank you.
Thank you, Fangfang. This next question is for Ankush. Passion comes up so often as a motivator. Your path through your career success sounded more deliberate and planned. Did passion play a role for you as well? And if so, how?
Thanks for the question. And I would say it's actually a balance. Given a choice, and if I had to just follow my passion, I would be out making movies, documentaries, right? I had a great passion for media. But it's also important down your journey to also figure out what are your interests and what are people willing to pay for, and that really is the sweet spot. It is also important if there is someone out there who is actually offering you a great role and a great role or something that's very different and you do not yet know enough about it, say yes, right? And go and train yourself up, get immersed into it, and more often than not, you can find an element of passion even out there. And just to cite an example, right, when I explained and shared the role that I had with Samsung, when I was starting out the innovation team, right, and a lot of the innovation efforts is around designers, design researchers, and I was not trained to really take on that role. I came in from a hardcore product management, product marketing kind of experience. But when they did offer up that role, I said yes. And then over the course of the next 5-6 years, I learned how to do design research. I learned to play the role of an ethnographer if required, right? I learned to think in certain abstract terms, right? And get into the realms of projective thinking. And over a period of time, you also learn, right, that this is stuff that you enjoy, right? You might not already have the answers upfront before you step into the role, right? So sometimes give it a shot, and you might just surprise yourself. Thanks.
Thank you. This next question is for a few of our panelists. It's for Ankush, Christine, and Ellen. What was the transition like moving back to your home countries after time spent in the US? Do you have any advice around that? Let's start with Christine.
Hi. Okay. I think the greatest transition for me was, getting back into the cultural behavior here. Over here, people are very subtle in their meanings, and so just to get into the workplace and to understand how to communicate with the society here all over again. That's the one thing that we have to learn and to respect. So that's for me.
Wonderful, thank you. Ellen, you're next.
Hi, yes, I've been back for, I think, Effie, would you mind to turn on my camera? Thank you. So, let me see. Okay, yes. For me, I've been back from the US for about 12 years. I do remember I experienced a culture shock when I came back. But I think one learning for me is stay humble. And I learned so much from local colleagues. And at the meantime, also, you can see your advantage with the international culture background, that you can find the uniqueness in the market to contribute and to leverage your experience and the learnings back in the US. Yeah, I think I would say stay humble and learn from local, because it's a very different markets between US and China. So yeah, I think that's from me.
Thank you, Ellen. Ankush, do you have anything to add?
Just the fact that we should make sure that we have well-defined reasons in place before we make that transition, because it's probably not going to be easy. It's a swing in cultures, the way things work in say in any Western country, right? Especially if you're coming back to Asia. Things are not always that well regulated out here, so it will be a culture shock. It will be something that you need to get adjusted to year after year. But that being said, I think the international exposure will definitely put you in good stead back home, right? The fact that you have had an exposure to various organizations, ways of working, definitely, gives you that competitive edge, especially when you're back home and you're trying to compete once again. Thanks.
Thank you. This next question is for all of our panelists. How do you navigate being a specialist versus a generalist? Do you see companies preferring one over the other? Let's start with Anusha.
That's a great question. Thank you for that. I think from the lens that I see it. So I started out, like I said, as a marketing analyst, so more on the technical side, being responsible for data analysis and reporting and getting into the BI, the business intelligence tools. And over time, what I've realized is that, this holds true across some of the brands that I have friends working at, and we're seeing this shift where firms are looking for more and more individuals who have kind of that blend of left brain, right brain. And what I mean by that is, if you're a specialist and you're very focused on your trade, on your function, but you don't necessarily have that broader business context, especially with so much going on around themes like digital transformation, customer experience. There is almost that need to be savvy about kind of the technical skills the roles needs, but still be able to put it in a business context. So the role that I have is just that very interesting blend where I end up being the glue between our core technical people as well as your the business side. And I see that happening more and more even in the product role. So if you think about manufacturing trucks and school buses and the heavy industrial equipment, you would think that we want highly technical people in some of the product management or the product marketing roles. And what we are doing more and more is identifying individuals within our engineering organization who not only have the technical chops, but who also are willing to invest themselves in understanding the go-to-market strategy, understanding the customer set, and really speak that business language. So I would say that there's this hybrid role between being the specialist and being a generalist that is starting to take off more. Thank you.
Thank you, Anusha. Do any of our other panelists have anything additionally to add to that?
Yeah, I can add a few more. I think from my experience, I feel this is really vary among different markets and the different industries. I can share a little bit from my experience between China and US in terms of the technology industries. My observation in China market, I think they tend to more value the individual contributors. In the US, they have more companies appreciate the experience in the technology industries. And however, I think whether you go which track, because every company, most of the companies, they have two tracks. So one is individual contributor, and then the other track is the management track. I think it depends on your interest and also your strength. I think some people tend to really just enjoy the technology. Then I think an individual contributor will be completely fine. And then if you are interested in more on the business side, people management, you will go with the management track. I think it depends on your personal preference. But I think in the US, I think both sides has all their own markets, and most of the big companies appreciate both type of candidates.
Thank you, Ellen. Would anybody else like to add anything before moving on to the next question? Okay, wonderful. So this is another question for all of our panelists. How has the pandemic changed the way you work? This is open to anyone who's would like to answer.
I can talk a little bit about that. So we have been staying in quarantine since, I think, mid-March, and basically everyone is required to work from home since then. I have been working remotely with my Chicago team members for the past 2 years, so that doesn't really change my life much. But I know that for a lot of my other team members who work in the office with their teams, and it's really a challenging time for all of us, because historically we were able to just sit right next to each other and chat about things and talk through the issues and questions that we have throughout the days. It's more like efficient and connected when you actually seeing that person in front of you. But all of that has to switch to work. Everyone needs to work from home, and we need to jump on the calls basically every single day throughout, like, in the past half of the year. I feel like one key things that I realized is how to try to find a way to stay connected, even though that we need to be separated in each of our apartment. One thing that I learned is, if there is something that I can connect with someone via Google Hangout, text message, or emails or phone calls, I will always pick like Google Hangouts or phone calls, because in that way you can actually really talk with the person that is on your team, and you can also chat about something that is outside work instead of just messaging or like emailing people with the specific tasks that certain people will need to start working on. All of us will just need to stay connected at this point of the day and just take care of ourselves, and trying to take the opportunities to get to know more about our lives, so that we can still stay connected during this time of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Fang Fang. Would any of our panelists like to share their experience as well?
Yeah, I just want to share from my point of view as a conference producer. As I mentioned, I travel extensively for conferences. You know, during conferences, you get to meet people, you get to actually know them, your sponsors, your attendees, your speakers. But during this time, you know, we are all on webinars. In fact, I heard that there are 4,000 webinars going on each day. So I think COVID-19 has forced everyone to be more innovative so that, our business continues to grow and that we are still able to capture our market share. So yeah, back to you, Effie.
Thank you, Christine. Before we move on to the next question, would anybody else like to share their experience? Okay, great. This again to all panelists. Would any advice for people trying to be more international? Do you have any advice for people trying to be more international in their careers? Tips, suggestions, companies?
So I can take this, Effie. So this is one of the things I have used in the past, and I still continue to do is basically take up pro bono or semi-paid kind of assignments, right? While you have your day job and you're working at it, there are a lot of opportunities where if you've spent a certain number of years in a particular field, you do have some expertise that someone else can value from, and for you to get into like a consulting assignment, it could be something where it might require a little bit of a travel for you, that you go out maybe once every 3 months or once or a couple of times every 6 months, where you actually travel to that place and work with the team. So I do end up doing similar work with a lot of startups in even other parts of the world, as well as now with obviously the travel restrictions kicking in, there's a lot of consulting assignments, right, that you can get on calls also to typically understand how people who are trying to form businesses in a particular part of the world are thinking or approaching it, right, and differently so from what used to be the cadence earlier. So that would be one suggestion that I have, which I have benefited from. It just keeps you learning all the time, keeps you getting some exposure to other cultures, other ways of thinking, and frankly, it keeps life interesting beyond a day job. Thanks.
Thank you, Ankush. Would any of our other panelists have anything to add?
I can add probably one or two more. I think the international work is definitely very interesting. I used to work with the technology group across 5 different countries, and I travel quite a bit in different countries. I think one thing would be beneficial is to understand their culture and to show your respect during your trip with your colleagues in those countries, and build the relationship. I think the connection is really important and help you to grow. And on the other hand, however, also I think not just blindly travel around and really think about what you can gain and learn through your career, this kind of international assignments and work, and then be able to build it. Changing locations, positions too frequently may not be beneficial to you in the long run. So I think that there's a balance you might want to watch out. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. Would anybody else like to add anything before we move on to the next question? Okay, this one is also for all panelists. If you had to list the one top skill that you think is at the core of your success, what would that be?
I can go first. Probably it will be the easiest one. I think the core skill is the ability to learn. I think be able to learn and adapt to the new the changes. I think that is the most top skills.
Thank you, Anusha.
Yeah, I would second that. I think being in a constant learning mode is really what has helped me. So, just to give a real world example, like I think like most firms, we dabble a lot in the different technologies that we purchase, right? So we've got Tableau, we've got Microsoft Power BI for business intelligence tool, or for CRM, we've tried Salesforce. Now in my role where I oversee market research, we've got Qualtrics that we use for our customer experience program. So it's constantly required me to have that learning mindset. And I also think it's important because, yes, absolutely that school experience and everything I learned in DePaul is truly the foundation for everything I do. But learning isn't really about checking the box. So you have to constantly be willing to have that growth mindset and be willing to really embrace whatever tools and technologies you need to go learn and you're required to perform your job. So I would say that's definitely been core to my success. Thank you, Effie.
Thank you. Do any of our other panelists have anything to add? Fang?
Yep, I just want to echo to Anusha and Alan. And I think the ability to learn and try new things is definitely a key to the success, especially trying something that is outside your comfort zone that maybe other team members have not tried yet. A real life example is, I think when I was still a student, and there is like events that introducing Tableau. At that point, I feel like a lot of us do not have any idea what that is, but Professor Lin actually let me know that this is a good opportunity to actually learn something new. So I went there and learned about what it is. And during my first year in PwC, there is a project that needs someone who have the experience of using that software. So I went there and saying that I actually work on a project while I was at school. So I got enrolled in that program and help with the team to complete that project. So it's definitely really like bring you to the attention of all the other team members that you are willing to try something different and try something out that no one has done it before. And then once you establish that reputation, then when there is some new opportunities for team members to introduce, for example, like new software like Qualtrics as well as the UI Pass, they will think about you and maybe they will send the opportunities to you. So you get the opportunity to try and learn something that is new and before everyone else. And then you be able to like try different things that outside the normal compliance work. And then you probably will be able to find the passion of whether you want to focusing on certain area or you want to switch your career path a little bit. So I would say that's definitely one good key of the skills that I learned in the past few years. Back to you, Effie.
Thank you. Do any of our panelists have anything else to add before moving on to our next question?
I think I'll just add one, Effie. So I think in general, right, it's always good to have one unique skill in your hip pocket all the time. For those days when you'll not necessarily be at the top of your game, but you still would like to feel valued and be like to be looked upon. In my case, most of the times, and in many scenarios, what has really helped me is the ability to take a complicated problem and synthesize it into simple steps and figure out at least an approach to getting there. And it's not tied to a particular functional skill. It's a slightly a higher order overarching skill, which has helped me time and again. You're seen as the guy that if there is something really complicated, people are struggling to understand, that's the person I go to, and hopefully he can make it happen for me. Thanks, Effie.
I apologize. The next question is again for all panelists. If you feel your current position or work is not so attractive, or you feel you cannot grow in your current position, what should you do? Would anyone like to take this one?
Okay,
Christine.
let me give this a shot. I think for me, I would probably, speak with my supervisor or, the person I'm reporting to about what you're doing right now and how you can do better before you think and try to find a way to fit what you're good at into your job. But if that doesn't work out, then you have to go back again to the drawing board and see what do you actually you're good at and would like to do and move on from there. I think Ankush said this earlier on that you have to have a strategy, like if you have this current job, what do you want to do next? So yeah, Effie, back to you.
Thank you, Christine. And we have time for one last question. Let me see. What was the most unforgettable memory during your time and studying at DePaul? Would anyone like to get us started? Thank you, Fang Fang.
Yep. I would say that most unforgettable memory during my time at DePaul is my first accounting class in DePaul University. As I talked about this before, I have no accounting knowledge before I came to United States. So that first accounting course is definitely really challenging. I was sitting there and just feel like I can understand every single words the professor is talking about, but I just do not understand when it all put together. So at that point, I was like, okay, did I make a wrong decision switching my major? Did I make a wrong decision when coming over to United States? And then I spent some time talk with the professor after the class. And I feel like I just have so many questions that I want to ask, but it's like cannot really be limited in the 5 or 6 minutes after the class. I would say, like, can I make an appointment to you? Can I talk with you like during your office hour? And he said yes. So I actually scheduled office hour with him the day after, and I just sit in his office and ask all my questions like for about 1 whole hour. And basically what he did is talk and explain every single thing for what he has been talking about during the course all over again. And I really, really appreciate that experience because it really encouraged me for asking whatever questions that I want to ask. And it also really encouraged me to just stay with the class and stay with the professor, and then ask for help if I need it, raise my hand if I have questions during the class. So that's I will say the most unforgettable memory during my time at DePaul University. Thank you, Effie.
Thank you, Fang Fang. Would any of our other panelists like to share their favorite memory?
I don't have a favorite memory. I have a few actually, so I'm just going to go really quickly with this. First, I remember Professor Karen Roloff. She helped me to adjust my hood on my graduation gown on the day I graduated because I wore it wrongly. So that was really one good memory that I took with me to this day. And then the other one is that I attended a class on Irish history or something. I don't know why. And one of the assignments was that I have to trace back my last name history, and I told the professor, I'm not Irish by I don't know a million years, so how can I do this? So he made me research with his last name, and I got a good grade for the project. And lastly was Professor Zafar Iqbal's class. He paired me up with a guy that nobody want to work with, I remember, but we did a good job on the project, and I think I got an A for that. So thank you so much for all these good memories that I took with me. Effie?
Thank you, Christine. Do any of our panelists have anything to add? Ankush?
I'll take one, Effie. And this is not tied to a particular class or faculty. I've had my share, of favorite professors from the university. But at DePaul, what I really liked about the entire experience was people were friendlier in general. I had just finished a master's program at Northwestern, and post DePaul, I went and spent some time again doing a different program at Harvard. it was, there were points in those programs where I felt that people were literally going at each other's throat, whereas in here I always felt that you were literally part of a bigger family, and you could speak your mind without necessarily being threatened in some form or shape, and there was a free flowing of ideas and information, and very relaxed, very calming, and as I said, friendly. I mean, that's the biggest general feeling that I remember when I think about the university and the program. Thanks, Effie.
Thank you, Ankush. Would anybody else like to share? All right, well, thank you so much to our panelists for sharing their journeys with us, all their great advice and insights. We really appreciate you being with us here today. It's my pleasure to hand it over to Jean Mario Besana for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Effie. Thank you, Fanfang, Ankush, Anusha, Christine, Ellen. It's been absolutely fascinating for me to listen to your stories and witness your success. And thank you for the memories of your time at DePaul. This has been really a terrific event. And thank you again for your willingness to give us some of your precious time. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I hope it was inspiring for you too to hear our friend's story. And we were delighted to have you here. A couple of things, please stay in touch with us and help us stay in touch with you. In the chat, you will see a link to a simple form on our International Alumni page where you can update your contact information. That will be extremely helpful for us to stay in touch with you. Also, please join our LinkedIn group, our Global Engagement LinkedIn group. We will use that to offer more updates on alumni events and other potential things of interest to you. And finally, if life has been generous with you, please think of all the many students at DePaul who right now are struggling because of healthcare and financial repercussions of the pandemic. I would encourage you to visit our Now We Must campaign. And if life has been generous with you, please consider being generous back with our students. Have a great day or evening, wherever you are, and take care of yourself and your loved ones right now. Okay? And thank you again.